This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Following program is rated MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, it doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, truer words have never been said. It does not matter who the host is. What has always mattered is who the listeners are. Anyways, today is Monday, July the 28th of 2025, day 209th of the year, and only 156 days left to go. We are broadcasting from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida, and coming across the multiverse known as Safety FM, and then hanging out with our friends and colleagues over there.
Radio Big. USA, Canada, UK.
Oh, yes, that's how it goes. Radio Big.FM, hanging out with those people, doing our thing over here. All kinds of stuff happening inside of the world. So let's start talking right away about some of the stuff that is going on inside of the multiverse. But I guess before we do that, how are you? It's been a hot minute. Yeah, like I told you, I was gone all of last week because I was in Canada doing some stuff. A little bit harder to broadcast in the morning. And then also I had heard there was a whole bunch of safety people coming into Orlando. So, you got to skedaddle when they start coming in. Now, I'm joking as I say that. Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of invites last week, but I wasn't in Orlando, so it kind of makes it difficult to do stuff when people are in Orlando. So there you go. Yeah, interesting week, but we'll talk about some of that stuff. I think that some people are still trying to recuperate, but don't worry, I was not leisuring while I was gone. It was all work for the most part. Gone doing some stuff. It's kind of the way that it goes. It's fine. I signed up for this. So a lot of interesting stuff. A lot of things changing, a lot of lives impacted is the way that I always talk about it. So anyways, let me tell you real quick about how we do things around here. Our store, listen to this. Our show consists of safety in the news and safety. That's kind of what we do. We talk about some of the stuff that's going on inside of the multiverse. We bring in some professional broadcasters for them to talk a little bit about what's going on, and then we tell you about what's going on in the news, tell you about what's going on in safety, and then we kind of skedaddle-addle. If you want to interact with the show, it's an easy way to do that. Callinradio.com will get you moving and grooving there. Callinradio.com will do the trick. So there you go. That's it. That's the whole thing. The whole thing. That's it. So with that being said, why don't we go ahead and start doing this? Why don't we start talking about what the hell was trending?
Here is what was trending. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so as we talk about the trends of the ends of the ends, because, you know, there's a lot of ending into trending because that's just kind of the way that it goes. Notable and noteworthy, a little leaguer goes to court. Yep, not a joke there. Also, another bizarre episode in the Coldplay Kiss Cam saga and a special reunion closeout for Beyonce's tour. If you haven't heard about this, we'll talk about that as we get into show business. Also, former late-night rivals differing opinions and casting calls. Also, a deal with Netflix might not be dead for the Sussex, or at least the tone of them. Well, yeah. So we'll talk about that after all. So there you go. That's what we're going to do. Anyways, I have my friends from Feature Story News wanting to tell you about the feature and wanting to tell you about the story, and definitely sure as shit wanting to tell you about the news. So why don't we go ahead and do that right now?
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in New Delhi, I'm Neha Punia. US and Chinese officials are meeting to extend their tariff détente beyond a mid-August deadline and will try to tackle long-standing economic disputes at the center of a trade war between the world's two biggest economies. Analysts say the discussions in Stockholm are unlikely to produce any breakthroughs, but could help create conditions for President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping to meet later this year. Laura Westbrook has more.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who's leading the U.S. delegation, said before the talks in the Swedish capital that the two sides would be working out a likely extension of their trade truce, which currently expires on August 12th. It's his third meeting with Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng, who is leading the Chinese delegation. On the agenda are discussions about how long the current tariff truce can be extended and U.S. levies tied to fentanyl trafficking. A key issue is Beijing's stranglehold on rare earth magnets, used to make everything from electric vehicles to high-tech weapons, and Washington's curbs on cutting-edge chips essential to AI. Analysts say reducing the 20% fentanyl tariffs Trump imposed over U.S. claims that Chinese companies supply chemicals used to make the illegal drug fentanyl is also a high priority for Beijing.
The talks come a day after the US and the European Union struck a trade deal to avoid crippling tariffs and bring some stability to a trading relationship that makes up a third of global trade. US President Donald Trump and the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, announced the agreement following a meeting in Scotland. Nick Harper is in Washington.
I think it's great that we made a deal today instead of playing games.
Donald Trump celebrating a deal that will see European goods taxed at a 15% rate. It's lower than his threatened 30% figure, but certainly not the tariff-free rate the EU chief Ursula von der Leyen had been hoping for.
It will bring stability. It will bring predictability. That's very important for our businesses on both sides of the Atlantic.
Not included, though, is European steel and aluminium. That faces 50% duties, nor pharmaceuticals.
Meanwhile, President Trump's claims of having mediated a truce between India and Pakistan will be at the center of a marathon debate in the Indian Parliament. Opposition parties are questioning the government over the US's involvement in that ceasefire that was enforced in May after New Delhi's missile strikes on Pakistan. Ishan Garg is in New Delhi.
The Indian opposition is hoping to get a direct response from Prime Minister Narendra Modi over President Donald Trump's alleged role in mediating a truce between India and Pakistan. India says a ceasefire was directly negotiated between military commanders of Indian and Pakistani army, but President Donald Trump says he was the one who stopped the war by using trade as leverage. Opposition parties are calling it a diplomatic setback for India.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking in more detail today at the decision last week by French President Emmanuel Macron formally to recognise Palestinian statehood, and the apparent decision by British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer not to echo the French move. The UK's leader is under growing pressure to emulate France's decision. It will see the French government officially recognise Palestine during September's annual meeting of the UN General Assembly. Chris Doyle heads the Council for Arab-British Understanding.
The United Kingdom, together with nearly all the European powers, has supported a two-state solution back since 1980. And you can't be serious and credible if you're going to just recognize one state in that equation, Israel. Now, recognition isn't about saying a government is good. It is about acknowledging a national right. It's about acknowledging self-determination. It appears that Keir Starmer, in a choice between President Macron's position, France has decided that it will recognize, and the United States' position has veered towards the United States. And he's obviously and very clearly nervous about upsetting the Trump administration.
He argues that discussions about statehood must not overshadow the urgent need to resolve the worsening humanitarian crisis in Gaza. On Sunday, Israel said it will pause some military activity there to allow aid in via road and a series of airdrops. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main news again. US and Chinese officials are meeting to extend their tariff détente beyond a mid-August deadline and will try to also tackle long-standing economic disputes between the world's two biggest economies. The talks come a day after the US and the European Union struck a trade deal to avoid crippling tariffs. Israel says it is pausing the fighting in Gaza so humanitarian aid can reach Palestinians. And that is the latest feature story news. Neha Punya reporting.
This show is almost as enjoyable as hearing the sound of the toilet flush. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
It's always amazing to me on how technology changes, and so does the environment that we're in. And cyber criminals will do everything they can to take advantage of a system. If you don't own a home, you have nothing to fear about what I'm about to tell you. But if you own a home like me and you don't guard it with home title lock, you're inviting home title fraud. One of the fastest growing crimes. Cyber thieves around the world know our home values are sky high at the moment, and that makes us a target. The crime is scary simple. Let me explain it to you real quick. A cyber thief simply forges your name on a property sale form and refiles it. That's it. Now he or she is on the deed of your home and you have no idea that you're a victim. Then the person takes out a loan on your home and vanishes, leaving you to prove to the police that you didn't commit bank fraud. Home Title Locks puts a virtual barrier around your home title. The instant they detect any kind of tampering or anybody messing around, they help shut it down. Look, if you have equity in your home, you need to guard it the best way that you can. Some people might even go as far as guarding it with their life. Go to HometitleLock.com and register your address to see if you already are a victim. And enter the code RADIO. That's RADIO. That's the code RADIO for 30 days free of protection. That's code RADIO at HometitleLock.com.
Radio Big. USA, Canada, UK.
Let's start using cutting-edge warp-speed 5G technology with your cell phone. Let me tell you about my friends at mobilemobile.io. They have an ultra-fast 4G LTE and 5G network that covers 99% of Americans. So they've got you covered everywhere. Think about it for a moment. You have the opportunity to take a test drive for 10 days with unlimited talk, text, and premium data. What is premium data? Premium data is an allotment of a cellular data that you receive from a higher priority on the network. You won't get throttled like you will with some of those, non-brand service providers. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to mobilemobile.io. That's mobilemobile.io to start your 10-day free trial.
Hello. Safety never sounded so terrible. Rated R Safety Show.
I know you all want to hit your revenue targets and get the launch done. Well, making sure that your team knows what to do and how to do it is a huge part of it. So I'm sure that you all do different kinds of training, and I'm willing to bet that you probably use PowerPoint, Zoom, etc. I also bet that when you get someone droning on about a topic using these tools, you probably zone out, and your team does too. I mean, it is a reality of what happens. That's why I strongly recommend a tool called Articulate 360. that makes it so easy to whip together interactive, really beautiful e-learnings that really engages people and gets info across. You can create short-form micro-learning, super interactive courses, and really whatever you need when you're in their site. Then with a couple of clicks, you can send it out and check on it and see the progress of your team. Your team can also check back on the training anytime they want in a super simple portal. Literally everyone uses Articulate. Over 120,000 companies and all 100 Fortune 100 companies. Check it out at articulate.com/360 to start a free trial. That's articulate.com/360 to start your free trial. And don't forget to tell them that I was the one that sent you there.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all three books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
Radio Big. Streaming 24/7 at radiobig.fm.
Oh, yes, there you go. A lot of stuff going on inside of the world of, stuff that we do around here. That's for sure. Anyway, so let's get into it. Let's start talking. Let's do some catch up. Not like catch up, like that kind of catch up, but let's just start talking about some of the stuff that was been going on inside of the multiverse, because that's kind of what we do around here. Anyways, tariff talk, because that's all we do when we start talking about what's going on. President Trump announced a trade deal with 27 European Union nations while visiting Scotland over the weekend. In a charismatic form, I guess, he said, it is a very powerful deal. It's a very big deal. It's the biggest of all the deals. More specifically, with the very powerful, very biggest of all deals includes a 15% tariff on most European imports to the United States, and the EU will also purchase $750 billion worth of American energy and an unspecified amount of military equipment. Meanwhile, Trump and Commerce Secretary Howard have in the recent days said that the lingering August 1st deadline is an actual for real deadline to impose tariff terms on countries that have not yet come to the table. This is according to CNBC. What do you think? Like, seriously, what do you think? Some interesting times for sure. So I don't know. Some stuff going on there, no doubt. Okay, so, other things. Last week, Little Leaguer Marco Rocco was kicked off the playoff game and banned from the next by the umpire after he flipped his bat in celebration following a home run. Rocco's father immediately took the decision to court and won a temporary restraining order prohibiting the league from keeping his kids out of play. The judge in the emergency ruling heard that Rocco had twice before flipped his bat without any repercussion. Even the president of the South River Little League, who has children who play with Rocco, 11 and 12 age group, was on Rocco's side, saying that the kid hitting it a home run of 200 feet field, it doesn't happen very often. If it was really bad, the umpire should have took him out to the side and said, "Hey, look, can't do that." So there you go. Some interesting stuff. What exactly does that mean, flipping the bat? I mean, I was automatically thinking flipping the bird, But, I kind of, my mind goes elsewhere when it's all said and done about some of this stuff. Just kind of how it happens. Like, seriously. So, I don't know. What do you think about this whole thing? Like, how much do you care about this? Maybe I should start off with that. Or is it one of those things, it's like, listen, it's Little League, let the people play, or whatever you want to say, in that particular regards. Just kind of a weird one, like always. So let's do this because I have the availability of doing it. Let's see if I can get this to work. Because that's always the key piece here is getting this stuff to work, not necessarily in real time, but getting it to work as close to real time as possible as we are talking. So let's take a look at this real quick. Hold on.
At the Little League State Tournament tonight, Haddonfield lost 10-0, but they did have one of their best players on the field, but only because of an emergency hearing in a Gloucester County courtroom.
An emergency hearing for Little League. Isn't this interesting?
Nearly cost him the chance to play.
So there you go. Oh, he threw flipping the bat is throwing it in the air.
Marco Rocco hitting that home run during a playoff game against Harrison. The crowd goes wild as he tosses his bat in the air before heading to first base.
Kid hitting a home run on a
So,
200-foot field.
I don't get it.
Happen very often.
However, citing unsportsmanlike conduct, the umpire ejected Rocco for that bat flip, and he was suspended from the next game, one that would either make or break Haddonfield's chances of heading to the World Series.
He was distraught. He was incredibly upset.
This is weird.
And I told him,
So,
I'll do
yeah.
everything in my power, to fix this for you.
Rocco's father filed
So,
for a temporary restraining order to allow him to
Going to court was via Zoom.
Today's game. An emergency court hearing took place. A judge ruled to let Rocco play after learning that
Guess
Rocco
so.
had done this twice in the past, but there was no penalty.
If they want to have some sort of prohibition against bat flipping, they should make that a rule.
Parents, coaches, even the judge posing a bigger question now to Little League Baseball. What exactly is considered unsportsmanlike conduct?
I know, that's interesting to know.
That bad, the umpire should have put him off to the side and say, hey, look, you can't do that.
But when kids, even adults, watch that video,
That was a money shot, right?
the home run was the main.
Did that little kid just reference a money shot? That's interesting.
And playing with teammates, being competitive.
We heard from the opposing team that day out of Harrison. The coach didn't want to share his name, but told News 12, "We do not believe that any 11 or 12-year-old players should be ejected from any game, let alone suspended, unless there is egregious behavior on the part of that player or clear violation of known and communicated rules of play and conduct." Amanda Lee, News 12, New Jersey.
Little League Baseball also responding to this. They say they're going to continue to follow any orders governed by the court of law. They add, Little League is extremely disappointed that time, energy, and attention were diverted away from our volunteers and communities who are creating positive experiences for all players and families through the international tournament.
Why is it that, people are going to think that there's more to the story? Like, the person that they're going to play next was involved because he was part of the ump or family related. Things get weird. Things get weird like always. That's kind of the way that it goes.
We at Safety FM are not responsible for what this idiot behind the microphone is saying. He is trying to be entertaining. Rated R Safety Show.
You know how it goes. You know how it goes as we are talking because, it's always a cluster. So, I don't know. It's always a cluster when you start getting to hear some of this stuff. I mean, what a crazy story. I mean, flipping a bat. I don't know. I don't know. Like, if the kid would have, thrown the bat at the pitcher or some shit like that, I can get it. But I'm kind of all over the place. Like, flipping the bat is throwing it in the air. I thought, flipping a bat would be you flipped the bat, That's how you go. Anyway, so take a listen to this. Sales on cottage cheese are up 20% over year through mid-June. And the grocery stores credit TikTok and the surge in popularity. Let's see. The healthy and budget-conscious consumers in recent years have been sharing recipes that include cottage cheese on viral video app. In 2022, cottage cheese sales increased by 11%. on the year, and they jumped 17% each of the next 2 years. The CEO of the grocery chain Albertson calls the food and strong growth category. Brands like Organic Valley, Good Culture say that they're struggling to meet the consumer demand. This is according to CNN. In some other news, the old marriages end in divorce stats is improving, though that when fewer Americans are getting married at all. So far, couples married in 2010s and stayed hitched for at least 10 years. About 19% of those marriages ended in divorce. Comparatively, 30% of people married in the 70s divorced after a decade. So there you go. On the other hand, in the 80s, about 80% of adults had married by the age of 30. Between 2000 and 2012, the number dipped by 64%, and overall estimates that 42% of new marriages in this decade will end in divorce. This is according to IFS. What kind of stat is that? And what the hell is IFS, just in case, is Institute for Family Studies, but the F is small for under 4, so that's why they're IFS, not IFFS, because that's what it would seem like to me when it goes. So divorce is in decline. About 40% in today's marriages. Hold on. Divorce in decline. About 40% of today's marriages will end in divorce. Wow. Love the positive news there. Jeez, man. So there you go. Okay, so let's talk about some other stuff. If you're spilling your guts to AI chatbots instead of seeing a therapist, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman warns that you don't enjoy the same confidentiality as you would with a trained professional. On Theo Vaughn's podcast, Altman said that people talk about the most personal shit in their lives to ChatGPT. People use it, young people especially use it as a therapist, a life coach, and these relationship problems, asking, what should I do? While legally, a lawyer, doctor, and therapist is protected from sharing that, what you talk about, Altman's company were subpoenas for chat transcripts that they have been given to them, no matter what the contents. We haven't figured out a way which you can talk to ChatGPT, Altman said. Worth noting, OpenAI is currently challenging a court's order that requires them to keep record of all chat transcripts. TechCrunch, by the way, a new name has emerged for to derive of incompetent AI chatbots robots are called clankers. The term originated in Star Wars lore, the human character to describe enemy robots, but has in recent months leaked into the mainstream discourse about robots. So there you go. I don't know. I'm just telling you. So here you go. If you're bored and you start talking to your chat box, if you start talking to your chat GPTs of the world, know that those records could be subpoenaed. Yeah, do you feel any better now? What have you been asking that thing? Because listen, I don't know if you've ever watched that movie called Her, but I'm not saying people do that, but if they do, think about that. Any kind of a conversation that you've had with that thing is going to be, well, it's going to be stored for a long period of time. So, best of luck out there with that.
Radio Big. Streaming 24/7 at radiobig.fm.
Okay, take a listen to this. DJ Steve Aoki and his wife, Sasha So Fine, have welcomed their first child, a baby boy who Aoki called Rocky 77. In an Instagram post, he added the special he added even more special it is to celebrate our son's first birth as the same day of our wedding anniversary. So there you go. Back in January, Aoki and Fine discovered the baby's gender during a cake smashing at one of his performances. So there you go. Also, in some other news, take a listen to this. Country rocker Zach Brown and Zach Brown and fashionista Kendra Scott are engaged. He's 46, she's 51. The couple shared the news exclusively with People magazine, but been and specifics and how he popped the question. So there you go. Anyways, let's talk about the box office because people care about that stuff. Coming in at number 10 was The Home with $1 million. And number 9 was Oh Hi with $1.1 million. And number 8 was Eddington with $1.6 million. And number 7, How to Train Your Dragon was coming in there with $2.8 million. Number 6 was I Know What You Did Last Summer, $5.1 million. And number 5 was Smurfs with $5.4 million. And number 4 was F1 the Movie with $6.2 million. It's actually up from number 5 from last week, by the way. Also, number 3 was Jurassic World Rebirth, $13 million. And lowering from the number 1 spot, going into number 2 was Superman with $24.8 million. And coming in at the number 1 spot was the Fantastic Four, First Steps, with $118 million. So there you go. Okay, let me give you 2 news stories before we get into our main story. Over the course of 2 meetings held in Florida last week, Ghislaine Maxwell answered questions of Deputy Attorney Todd Blanche related to the knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein's activities in exchange for limited immunity. The immunity agreement protects her from future prosecution, but does not affect her current 20-year prison sentence. Maxwell attorney says that she has been asked maybe 100 different people, and she didn't hold anything back. The media coincided with the reports late last week that President Trump is indeed mentioned among the 100,000 plus pages held by the FBI related to Epstein's investigation, along with other high-profile political figures who ran in the same circle. Meanwhile, newly declassified documents from Director of National Intelligence Office appears to prove not only that the narrative surrounding Trump-Russia collusion after the 2016 election was not only a total lie, but that it was orchestrated by Barack Obama and his top intelligence officials in the warning days of his second term. Just telling you what it says on here. Not true, because I don't have any proof of anything. I'm just sharing information. And also, with the understanding of the monstrous apparatus of treasonous decision that has already been tried and failed to destroy Trump, what faith should Trump have if any of the documents held by the FBI related to him can be trusted as legitimate? Is what the writer of this questions. When attorney Pam Bundy said that she's taking time to review the documents, she was actually reviewing them, not performing political theatrics, which many disillusioned and frustrated Americans have every right to question. So there you go. Interesting stuff there. Also, let's see. Do we want to go numbers? Let's go numbers. The Dow gained about 208 points to close at 44,901 on Friday, and the S&P increased by 25 points to close at 6,388. And the Nasdaq increased by, by 50 points is what it looks like. Yeah, good old 50 points. And what else happened there? What happened there? Okay, so the increase by 50 points, and then West Texas Intermediate closed at $65 a barrel, and Brent crude was at $67 a barrel. The national average price of a gallon of gas was $3.14 on Sunday, and Bitcoin was trading right around $118,000. Also, Tuesday night's Mega Million drawing will be for $130 million cash payout. Nope, matter of fact, that's the jackpot. The cash payout is $57.5 million. And tonight's Powerball drawing will be $364 million jackpot, or $164.1 million cash payout. So if you want to play the game, you have the opportunity to do so. So let's go ahead and do this, because it is 33 minutes past the top of the hour. And let's get into that thing that we call our story of the main, or main of the story. Right? Something like that?
Here is our main story on the Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, a lot of times, a lot of things to do, a lot of things to... Oh, yeah, I mean, you don't want me singing? Why am I singing here? Or attempting to sing, or whatever it is that you want to call that. So, let's talk. I know we talk about all kinds of weird stuff here, but have we ever talked about metals? You know, precious metals, to be exact. So let's talk about some words here. Are you familiar with silver? Precious metal. Are you familiar with gold? Another precious metal. Do you know what happens if you mix them both together? Electrum. Electrum is one of the things that we would talk about. And if you're not familiar with Electrum, let's kind of give you some key facts of Electrum. Electrum is naturally occurring alloy primarily composed of gold and silver. The ratio of gold to silver can vary, but typically ranges about 20 to 80% gold. It is often as pale as yellow or greenish color depending on the silver content, and Electrum was used historically in ancient jewelry and decorative items, especially by the Egyptians, Greeks, and Lydians. So, and then if you're referring to the modern or artificial blend rather than the natural occurring alloy, it might still be called Electrum, but simply gold and silver alloy depending on the context. So I just want to kind of give you that information to understand some of this. So let's talk about this because I think it's important. If we took the Electrum standard of fusing old and new safety together, so this is what we're trying to get to, this is kind of what we would talk about. In ancient times, Electrum was more valuable than either silver or gold, not because it was pure, but because it was balanced. So let's talk about what happens when we stop chasing purity in safety and start embracing alloyed thinking. Think about that. So, if ancient civilizations used Electrum because it was durable, versatile, and beautiful, despite being impure. Think about this. Because we get so hung up on a safety 1 and a safety 2, and this is not the original version of what I thought safety was. Do you know what I'm talking about? Because we sometimes focus on the purity and the control, and we are always looking at the elimination of negative outcomes, thinking that that's what it is. Now, if you would have told me 15 years ago that I would be in a meeting discussing a bee sting and not talking about serious injury and fatalities and how important the bee sting was, or a twist, or an ankle sprain, or something along those lines, I might have freaked out on you and been like, you're full of it. So if we used that as an example and said safety 1 is a silver standard, solid, reliable, but rigid and reflective of time when control was king, you would think that it would be great. You'd be like, yeah, silver, it's great. But what if we talked about the rise of gold and we called that one safety 2? So let's talk about this. Gold is like safety 2. It is valued for its flexibility, its insight. It looks at success, adaptation, and the human performance as assets. I mean, think about it. Think about the blend there of everything. But gold alone is kind of soft. Think about it. It bends under pressure, just like safety 2. Without structure, it can feel directionless or utopian to some. So I want you to think about this, because I think there's still a struggle for some as we talk about some of this stuff. And if you look at it more as a bolt-on, when we start talking about safety 2, as some people call it, to your safety 1 program, you could kind of see where the ebbs and flows might work. So if we use the Electrum mindset, the Electrum wasn't accidental. It was prized because it was fusing 2 elements together, silver as control and gold as adaptability. And the new standard for safety isn't about replacing safety 1 with safety 2. It's about allowing them together. If you blend and you mix. So we need the system that respects compliance silver and celebrates leaning towards gold. So would you think about real world applications? What about organizations that failed because they were stuck with the pure safety 1 aspect? Over-rotated to pure safety 2 without understanding the operational reliability. Because that's what happens sometimes. Is people want to jump from one thing to the other, and they're like, we know exactly what's supposed to happen. It's not about running down the file here and trying to get as quick as possible done with something. So here's the funny part. The signal is the alloy. Let me explain what I mean by that. Electrum wasn't shiny like gold or clean like silver. It was duller, it was messier, it was more real. So if you looked at it, you didn't think that it was beautiful, but it was something to look at. It was something different, but it had reliability between the two. And maybe if we took a look at both of these things, that's where real work of safety lives. Not in the pure metal, but in its messiness, its beautiful blend. So what I would ask you today is, what's your Electrum? What system are you building to allow both accountability and adaptability inside of your system? Because that's always going to be the question.
Oops! What did he just say?
We at Safety FM don't always agree with the viewpoints of our hosts and guests.
Now back to real safety talk on Safety FM.
Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the home of real safety talk.
You are listening to Safety FM. We'll be right back.
This portion of the show has been sponsored by Private Internet Access, America's #1 virtual private network, or VPN. Even if you use incognito mode, internet service providers is storing your browser data and many times even selling it. But Private Internet Access, or PIA, can help you. PIA encrypts and reroutes your internet traffic through one of its own servers, hiding your data from your internet service provider or network admin. And with servers in over 75 countries, you can get unrestricted access to geo-blocked content from around the world. PIA comes with easy-to-use apps and browsers extension for all devices, a rock-solid privacy policy, open source security, advanced customization settings, and it was just ranked the fastest VPN in the world by PC Magazine. And if you sign up right now with PIA, you can take advantage of a special deal only for Safety FM listeners. Only by using the following link, you can get the digital privacy for less than $2 a month. Yes, you did hear me correctly, less than $2 a month, and an extra 4 months for free. So that means for only $1.98 a month and 83% off, you can get this service for you right now. That's so much more inexpensive than virtually every other VPN on the market. And if you get it right now, you can take PIA's 30-day risk-free challenge. You can try it out for 30 days, see if you like it, and if not, just return it for a full refund. So just go to safetyfm.com/VPN. That's safetyfm.com/VPN to try out the best VPN on the planet completely risk-free. Now remember, safetyfm.com/VPN.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hacked? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
Hey there, Jay Allen here with Safety FM, where we just don't talk about safety, we live it. And when it comes to safeguarding your future, there's no better partner than Acorns. This part of the show has been brought to you by Acorns, and a powerful tool that makes saving and investing easier than ever. We all know that investing can feel overwhelming, especially with busy lives and no time to dive into the nitty-gritty of financial markets, but Acorns changes the game. With Acorns, you don't need to be a financial expert or have a hefty sum of money to get started. In fact, Acorns lets you begin with just spare change. All about those small steps, small investments today that can build into something much bigger over time. Acorns recommends that the expert build portfolio designed to fit financial goals. Then it does the heavy lifting for you by automatically investing your money. It's like having a financial advisor in your pocket working around the clock to help your money grow. So why wait? Head over to acorns.com/safetyfm or download the Acorns app and take that first step towards securing your future today. Remember, in the world of safety and investing, small actions today can lead to mighty outcomes tomorrow. Paid non-client endorsement. Compensation provides an incentive to positively promote Acorns. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisors, LLC.
and SEC registered investment advisors. View important disclosures at acorn.com/safetyfm. At Safety FM, we're all about making smart decisions on the job and in life. So take control of your financial future. This is Jay Allen reminding you to stay safe, stay smart, and invest in your tomorrow.
What do guys like besides pizza and morning sex?
Jay Allen in the morning.
It's so bizarre and unnatural.
It's all good. On Radio Big.
Okay, it's all about rattling cages today is what it seems like. So there you go. Yeah, always some good stuff. So it is currently 45 minutes past the top of the hour. We are still hanging out here on the Rated R Safety Show. Also referred to the Jay Allen of the Morning Show if you're on hour 2 and 3 when we go into it. Yeah, don't worry, we don't do video for that one. Don't need to scare people. Okay, so let's do this. Let's talk about this real quick. Let's talk about some cage rattling. We'd like to thank Saints of Valerie for allowing us to play this here on the Rated R Safety Show. So there you go. Give that one a little downloady action if you haven't already. You can go to Pandora, Spotify, YouTube Music, or Apple Music. Give it a little streamer action if you want to. Yeah, Saints of Valerie, Rattle My Cage. Thank you so much for allowing us to play that here on the Rated R Safety Show. Couple things real quick. Let's get into it because that's what we do around here. Let me tell you about the most important thing that I will ever tell you in my lifetime, and that's about my friends at To Write Love on Her Arms. No matter what you're facing, you deserve to be connected to help. And the people at To Write Love on Her Arms want you to know that people have been where you are now and that healing is possible. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to TWLOHA.com and click on the section that says Find Help. Once you get there, there's information related to addiction, depression, anxiety, eating disorders, self-injury, suicide, trauma, grief support, and other things. So TWLOHA.com to Write Love on Her Arms. So anyways, last week, I was not here, as you are aware. And a lot of things happened. A lot of things discussed. A lot of things happening inside of the multiverse. And if you hung out on our mini over on Friday, you kind of heard some of the stuff that I wanted to say. But I want to address this because, you know, we had the passing of Malcolm Jamal Warner. We had the passing of Ozzy Osbourne. We had the passing of Terry Bollea. Most people referred to him as Hulk Hogan. That all happened last week. And I thought it was pretty interesting when you started hearing that Hulk Hogan had passed away, not Terry Bollea. And I was listening to a podcast over the weekend where the guy referenced, isn't it interesting that when James Gandolfini passed away, it was not referred to as Tony Soprano died. But when Hulk Hogan did, or Terry Bollea did, that's how it was referred. And I came up with this and I wanted to share it. And I wrote this mostly talking about Terry Bollea, but take a listen to this. When the character becomes larger than the person, it's not always easy to separate signal from noise. Hulk Hogan wasn't just a wrestler. He was an icon, a larger-than-life character that shaped pop culture, inspired millions, and made them say their prayers and eat their vitamins. Part of the mainstream, he was the voice of a generation's childhood. But behind the man, behind the bandana, the mustache, and the 24-inch pythons was a man, Terry Bollea, a human being with flaws, missteps, and moments that didn't always match the myth that he portrayed. We often struggle with the contrast, the difference between the image of the individual, between what we believe someone to be, and who they really were when the spotlight dimmed and life became quieter. In his final years, Terry asked for forgiveness. And in that, he showed something real, something honest, the kind of humility that reminds us that we're all just people trying to get it right in the end. Still, there's no denying the impact, no denying the presence, no denying the legacy of what the character meant to millions. Rest easy, Holster. Thanks for the memories. And Terry, I hope you found the peace that you were looking for. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Professional wrestling has been part of my life for a long time, and I'm talking about in regard to a watcher, not a person involved. But I know it's some people question that. I always call it a male soap opera, is the way that I look at it. But I remember being a kid and looking at Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan to me at the time, in regards to the stuff that he did and the impact that, not understanding the impact, but just I remember like WrestleMania 3 and so on, how big of a deal that was. And then, of course, the forming of the NWO many, many, many moons later. So the three gentlemen that passed away last week, rest in peace. Not much else that I can say. Let's get something on a more positive note. Let's bring some John Smalls into our life and let him tell us about the Motivation Minute.
The Motivation Minute, courtesy of GenesisGoldIRA.com and JaceCaseMedical.com.
The Motivation Minute.
Today's quote was submitted by Taylor. Robert Browning said, but a man's reach should exceed his grasp, or what's a heaven for? I love that. I do that more often than I ever used to. It's kind of contagious, too. I noticed it rubs off on others. When you go out of your way to help somebody, many times they feel the need to do the same thing, to pay it forward to someone else. Now, it doesn't have to be big things to make a big difference. Sometimes something as small as inviting someone to join you for dinner or taking some food to a neighbor, it can make a difference. I understand you can't feed the world, but you know what? You can help a friend.
The Motivation Minute.
The Motivation Minute, courtesy of GenesisGoldIRA.com and JaceCaseMedical.com. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Hello, I'm Richard Exley with your 1-minute devotion. The images of the last days I spent with my father have been forever etched upon my heart. I'll never forget the love and devotion heaped upon him by his family and friends. It was a rare and special thing, and I can only conclude that the man or woman who goes in eternity love like that is rich indeed. Acts 20 says, they all wept as they embraced Paul and kissed him. What grieved them the most was his statement that they would never see his face again. Lord Jesus, help me to live selflessly so that I may die a beloved man, loved by both my family and my friends. Your holy name I pray. Amen. If these devotions are a blessing and an encouragement to you, you can subscribe at oneminutedevotion.com.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
Complicating rescue efforts. Emergency teams are on the scene, searching for any signs of life. The cause of the crash remains complicating rescue efforts. Emergency teams are on the scene, searching for any signs of life. The cause of the crash remains under investigation. Benjamin Wright, reporting.
India and the United Kingdom signed a free trade agreement at Chequers. The deal aims to boost economic ties between the two nations. Joseph Eckerson with the latest.
Prime Ministers Narendra Modi and Keir Starmer oversaw the signing by their trade ministers. The agreement covers goods, services, and technology sectors. It is expected to create jobs and increase exports. Negotiations had been ongoing for months.
This is the latest news headlines.
A bipartisan bill in the House proposes restructuring the Federal Emergency Management Agency. It would allow FEMA to report directly to the president.
The bill also permits FEMA to reimburse states for sheltering emergency personnel after disasters. It responds to debates over FEMA's future amid calls for reform. President Trump has suggested closing the agency entirely. The measure is backed by key House committee leaders. Kyle Norris reporting.
The Justice Department interviewed Ghislaine Maxwell on Thursday regarding her ties to Jeffrey Epstein. The interview focuses passes on new details in the ongoing investigation.
Maxwell, currently incarcerated, faces questions about her role in Epstein's activities. Federal authorities are seeking additional evidence in the high-profile case. The interview is expected to provide critical insights. No further details have been released. Lawrence Keller reporting.
The U.S. Navy has taken ownership of Arizona borderland for a new national defense area. The transfer was finalized today to enhance border security measures.
Hundreds of acres were designated for military use, sparking local debate. The Navy plans to develop the site for specialized operations. Community leaders have raised concerns about environmental impacts. Details on the project's scope remain limited. Kevin Sanders reporting.
Meta introduced new safety features for teenage Instagram users. The update aims to curb exploitive content on the platform.
The features include enhanced privacy settings and stricter content moderation. Parents can now access tools to monitor their teens' accounts. Meta says the changes respond to growing concerns about online safety. The rollout begins immediately across the U.S., Jessica Oakley reporting.
And that's the latest news headlines with Alan Edwards.
Thailand and Cambodia engaged in deadly border clashes, resulting in 12 deaths. Both nations accused each other of initiating the gunfire.
The conflict left 11 civilians. Community leaders have raised concerns about environmental impacts. Details on the project's scope remain limited. Kevin Sanders reporting.
Meta introduced new safety features for teenage Instagram users. The update aims to curb exploitive content on the platform.
The features include enhanced privacy settings and stricter content moderation. Parents can now access tools to monitor their teens' accounts. Meta says the changes respond to growing concerns about
Quiz hotshot. During a heat wave, what's more important, air conditioning or air guitar?
Is it air conditioning?
Air guitar. The answer is always air guitar.
Of course the answer is air guitar. Come on, man. How do you not know that? You should know that. That's an automatically built-in right there as we are talking. Anyways, let's talk about some things that happened back on this day as I took a look around. Meghan Markle is a guest editor in the UK's Vogue September issue. She is the first guest editor to the magazine in 103 years. The issue was the magazine's best-selling edition in 105 years. So maybe it's something you should consider. Okay, let's talk about some birthdays going on today. Glorilla turns 26. Soldier Boy 35, Human Abendin turns 49, Afro Man 51, Elizabeth Berkley Lauren turns 53, Dana White turns 56, Lori Loughlin turns 61, Jim Davis turns 80, and Bill Bradley turns 82. If you're looking at some days of the year to celebrate, it's National Chocolate Milk Day and World Hepatitis Day. Okay, so there you go. That's some things right there for you. As we are talking, what else do we have going on? Let's take a look. I think that's pretty much going to be it. Yeah, that's if you're celebrating some days of the year. Also, before I get into this other side, before I forget, Conklin Conference going on September the 9th through the 11th. If you want to come and join us in Santa Fe, New Mexico, you'll have the likes of Martha Acosta, Bob Edwards, Jen T. Long, Andrea Baker, Mark Yeston, and of course, yours truly right there. And don't forget, Todd Conklin will be there, of course, as well. Always some things to talk about as we are moving and grooving. No doubt about that. So safetyfm.com and go into the section that says live events for more information. So there you go. There you go. No, seriously, there you go. What else? If you need a rando ando for today, let me give you one of those, because who doesn't want a rando? Here you go. For fast acting relief, try slowing down. If you need a phone starter for today, try this. What's your favorite song to sing in the shower? If you need a something for the water cooler, try this. 26% of men have cried over this. What is it? A wedding. So there you go. Anyways, that's going to sum up our time together. Thank you for always hanging out with us in regards of what's going and hanging out and seeing what's going on inside of the world. I will be going over to radiobig.fm for the next couple hours or so if you want to come out and hang out on that side of the equation. If not, you can stay here and hang out with the likes of Sheldon Primus as he talks about the world of safety consulting. So there you go. If I can't leave you with a deep thought for today, I would love to leave you with this. If you want to be happy, set a goal that commands your thoughts, liberates your energies, and inspires your hopes. Anyways, so there you go. Anyways, I know who you are. You know who I am. Love ya, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are solely those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Safety FM and or Radio Big. The content discussed, including examples of analysis, is provided for illustrative purposes only. It should not be applied as the sole solution in real-world scenarios, as it is based on limited and dated open source information. Any assumptions made during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are not reflective of Safety FM and or Radio Big. No portion of this broadcast, podcast, or radio show may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of Safety FM and or Radio Big. For permission requests, please contact Safety FM or Radio Big directly.